Hello, Polytopians! What a start to the 2026 World Championship Qualifiers. Round 1 delivered unforgettable moments across the Kiku, Yadak, Vengear, Katsali, Zebasi, and Luxidoor qualifiers. Before the action resumes with Round 2 on August 9th, here's every highlight you won't want to miss. Let's jump in. First up was Kiku, who starts with a warrior and the fishing technology. Their formidable navies conquered the seas, matched only by their far-reaching explorers. Bossman takes a fantastic central explorer that meets his opponent and gets the lighthouse. The tiny land connection between them is all he needs to get his attack started. Using the rider he trained on turn 4, Bossman kicks Mythic off of one of the villages right next to his capital, stealing it and keeping Mythic stuck on only 2 cities. Despite poor capital resources and going riding first, Bossman is able to get the first giant of the game by revealing all 4 lighthouses and getting the Eye of God monument. Beautiful play. Mythic plays on, however, getting a giant of his own with a population ruin and investing in mathematics the same turn. We will be seeing several more giants from his side. Can Bossman hold him off long enough to secure the rest of the map? Bossman gives up the city he stole from Mythic, but quickly counterattacks with a giant of his own. At the same time, his riders eliminate Mythic's hopes in the west and secure the rest of the map. Just when all hope seems lost, Mythic gets trade and manages to scare Bossman off of the city he was sieging. Unfortunately, he was just delaying the inevitable. Bossman may have given up ground, but the couple turns he spends playing passively allow him to get markets of his own. These tall markets dwarf Mythic's setup, and ultimately allow Bossman to crush him economically. A nice knight chain is the cherry on top of a slam dunk for Bossman, allowing him to close out the game in style. Both players get explorers that reveal each other. The race for the unclaimed villages has begun. However, Mythic and Bossman opt for different approaches. Mythic goes straight into riding, while Bossman's gamble for the ruin pays off massively. The extra stars let him go straight into mathematics and rush out a quick giant, giving him the initiative. Mythic responds by making a play for the village and getting a giant of his own. The game isn't over yet. Unfortunately for Mythic, Bossman's siege holds, allowing him to get another giant and continuing to pressure on land. Mythic's last hope lies in his lone giant on land and the rafts exploring in the east. Bossman is entirely unwilling to give Mythic any advantages here, making a crucial bridge play to knock Mythic off of a hotly contested village. As a last-ditch effort, Mythic puts all of his remaining eggs into the east basket, growing his level 1 city to level 5 and casting a shadow over Bossman's cities with his second giant. Unfortunately, he leaves open a crucial capital siege, which Bossman immediately exploits. Demoralized and unable to continue defending on land, Mythic resigns. The first game between Willibom and Levon starts off with a bang. Both players form a line of archers to hold the other off, and it takes Levon sending in a giant to break the stalemate. However, Willibom used that time wisely, setting up a series of high-level markets that give him a massive economic lead. From there, he transitions into the water, and the sight of bombers forces Levon to resign. In Game 2, Levon gets a bounty of fruit across his 2 cities, and once again opens with organization. This pays off, as we see him get a fantastic Central Explorer and the East Lighthouse to boot, allowing him to upgrade his capital on the same turn for a massive economic boost. He uses these stars to go straight into riding, which allows him to deny Willibom a central city in the second straight game. Willibom, unable to respond and lacking vision because of a workshop he took earlier in the game, resigns. Levon makes use of 2 early explorers to get fantastic map vision. These explorers set up a smooth early game for him and allow him to level up his capital quickly. Willibom, not finding his close villages, goes into riding in the hopes of making it to the other side of the map more quickly and making up the deficit. Unfortunately, Levon shuts the door on Willibom's expansion hopes, cutting off his access to a crucial central city by upgrading 2 rafts into scouts. Willabomb, realizing he's going to be stuck on a low city count against an opponent with naval dominance, resigns. Bossman's lighthouse spawn allows him to get 3 warriors very quickly. Meanwhile, Levon's poor land connection forces him to place an early port down as a means of continuing to expand. Fortunately for Levon, the city he finds with that first raft is a great one. 5 fish and a fruit allows him to quickly start leveling it up. However, Bossman takes back the initiative, accelerating the pace of the game significantly with his first giant, who will immediately embark towards the central unclaimed village. Levon, realizing he needs to keep pace with his opponent, uses farming to get a giant of his own. The 2 ruins he opened don't hurt either. Strategy and riding give him attacking options over both land and sea. After an uneventful turn from Bossman, Levon proves his worth and turns the tables, taking the initiative back by making a second central giant. Bossman is not deterred, however. Seeing Levon step onto the unclaimed village, he immediately makes 2 scouts and denies it, establishing naval presence while also keeping victory within reach. Levon prepares to strike back, with rammers sitting patiently behind his juggernauts. Bossman seizes this opportunity to put a juggernaut onto the unclaimed village, picking up navigation along the way with the help of a star ruin. The game at this point seems to be all but his. Levon puts together one last attack. His first giant steps onto the critical central village. The juggernaut and its rammer entourage shoot forward in a full frontal assault, and scouts reinforce from behind. If Levon can claim the village Bossman is sitting on with his giant, he will gain a major foothold in the lake. With rammers of his own, however, Bossman does not make that easy. Closing out Game 2, the floodgates open, and Bossman's units pour forth, sweeping over Levon's defensive line and tearing apart the squishy defender scouts. After securing complete naval dominance, Bossman is in a winning position. Despite Levon's veteran rider's siege, making use of a beautiful giant push, the fact that it won't hold means that Levon resigns. Levon starts off game much the same way he usually does, getting a gorgeous explorer that reveals his opponent and the lighthouse. In a similar fashion to his previous series against Willabomb, this allows Levon to go straight into riding and deny Bossman a close city. Bossman, however, fires back with archery, using the forest defense bonus to create an attack with his warriors. Although this attack seems looming and mounting after a tense back and forth around the city Levon stole from out under his nose, Levon is able to capitalize on a star ruin and make a devastating roads play, taking another city from Bossman and forcing him to resign. Game 3 has a relatively uneventful opening, but an early star ruin for Levon allows him to go straight into an aggressive riding playstyle, looking to dominate using his land connection to the north and south sides of the map. Bossman, however, gets a great ruin of his own, a veteran swordsman right next to Levon's city. However, Levon's roads once again save the day. After placing 2 perfectly calculated roads, he's able to secure this entire south side of the map, while also fighting off the veteran swordsman moving in the north. Realizing he will be down in cities and economy in the late game, Bossman resigns, allowing Levon to become the Kiku tribe representative. Next are our far-reaching mercantile friends, Yadak. This tribe starts with a warrior and the roads technology, giving them an early advantage in expansion and allowing them to quickly grow their economy across a vast empire. Starting us off, we have the semifinal match between Ramdingler and Oplix. Their first match begins relatively uneventfully, but by turn 10, Oplix has managed to secure 3 monuments and most of the map. However, Ramdingler strikes back by getting in the water first and making some scouts. After saving his city from a scary veteran swordsman siege with a clutch giant pop, Oplix then slowly grinds down Ramdingler's forces, pushing him out of the water. Despite getting trade and going for knights, Ramdingler stands little chance against Oplix's bombers, which land devastating splashes that wipe out his defense. Ramdingler's last hope lies in a magnificent Houdini he manages to land on turn 23, but after the giant immediately dies, he resigns. In Game 2, Ramdingler makes a remarkable play, going for a tactical explorer in his capital. This explorer reveals his opponent and also gets him a second lighthouse. Oplix then finds himself in a world of trouble after Ramniller's nearby ruin produces a veteran swordsman. Under pressure, he forces the swordsman back with beautiful warrior placement. Unfortunately for Oplix, he is unable to immediately match Ramniller's turn 7 giant. Ramningler uses his momentum and his decision to rush forestry to set up fast markets, reaching 43 stars per turn by only turn 11. Unable to handle Ramningler's overwhelming attack and economic advantage, Oplix resigns. In the final game, we immediately start off with some fireworks. However, Oplix runs down the clock much more than his opponent, and by turn 8, he is unable to find the critical series of sieges before his turn forcefully ends. This ultimately allows Ramningler to stabilize an otherwise tense position, and Oplix resigns soon after. Ramningler survives the semifinals and will face the winner of Meister and Civet in the finals. The first game between Meister and Civet sees a stalemate unfolding over land between the two players. Meister tries to break parity with his second giant, but Civet answers back by getting Eye of God Monument on turn 10 and securing a second giant of his own. Civet then barely survives Meister's attack in the north, unsieging the first giant by the skin of his teeth. Meister resigns after his second giant siege in a row is repelled by a well-timed giant push. Game 2 shows us the other side of Yadak. While both players develop their economies at a similar pace, Civet opts to get in the water first to continue expanding. Meister takes advantage of this opportunity to play greedily, going straight into trade. Civet then uses sailing to steal a crucial 6th city from Meister's side of the lake, but this does little to deter Meister, whose economy has skyrocketed to 41 stars per turn by turn 12. His Juggernauts crash through on the next turn, leading to a desperate unsiege from Civet and putting him firmly on the back foot. Ultimately, Meister's beautiful triple siege, including opening a lane straight to the capital over water, forces Civet to resign. Civet expands quickly in the final game of the series, reaching the other side of the map by the 7th turn. On the same turn, he also gets the first giant of the game, putting Meister in a difficult position much earlier than he would like. By turn 9, Civet has dropped both the Eye of God and Grand Bazaar monuments, flexing on his opponent as he takes naval dominance shortly thereafter. The last turn of the game sees Civet's 3 Juggernauts cascading towards Meister's shores, and even the glimpse of them is enough to inform Meister that he is beaten. Civet moves on to the finals, where Ramningler awaits him. The first game of the finals between these two titans is a quick one, with Ramningler finding the only connection between his capital and the rest of the map through a one-tile diagonal land strip. After an explorer that meets his opponent, he quickly sizes up the position and shifts into riding, allowing him to knock Civet off of his 4th city. Civet, realizing he's boxed into a corner with no hope of continuing to expand, resigns. The second game between the two plays out relatively passively in the early game, but Civet picks up the pace with a beautiful series of 3 explorers on turn 8, securing Eye of God on top of an already fantastic turn. By the end of the turn, he has over double his opponent's income. Civet immediately capitalizes on this advantage, isolating and capturing Ramningler's bridge city with his 2 Juggernauts. From there, a flurry of scouts and rammers harry Ramningler all the way back onto land, where he resigns. Ramningler starts off the final game of the series with a bang, achieving a turn 6 giant with the help of a pair of lighthouses and fantastic capital resources. Fortunately, Civet is not far behind, achieving his giant the following turn with the help of population ruin. Fate, however, is on Ramningler's side, as the expansion phase progresses with a phenomenal veteran swordsman ruin that helps him secure a crucial city on the east side of the map. With the next turns being all important, Ramningler makes a clutch play, hitting Civet's Juggernaut instead of capturing the village. This play helps him secure naval control by whittling down Civet's only presence on the water. Just when it seems like Civet is clawing back control of the lake, Ramningler slams the door shut with Aquatism, sealing the deal and forcing Civet to resign after some amazing Juggernaut splash plays. Ramningler is our Yadak champion and will represent them in the next stages of the World Championship. After Yadak, the competition moved into the Wastelands, home of the zealous and haunted Vengear. They begin with a powerful swordsman and the smithery technology, allowing them to grow their cities quickly with forges. Up first is the semi-final match between Mythic RNG and Contagious Cookie. While the first 10 turns pass relatively uneventfully, Mythic ups the ante with a beautiful swordsman siege on Cookie City that is guaranteed to hold. Cookie smartly shifts into forestry to chop away any remaining population in that city, which simultaneously progresses him towards his first giant when he gets a border growth in the center. However, by the 12th turn, Mythic has further increased his lead, picking up 2 fantastic ruins in the form of navigation and stars. He uses these wisely, getting the first giant of the game with a level 3 forge and securing the south corner of the map for himself. Looking to close out the game, he then picks up ramming on the next turn and attacks Cookie's weak northwest flank, landing the second unbreakable swordsman siege of the game. Cookie, unable to deal with the pressure from the incoming giants on both sides of the map, resigns. Cookie starts off the second game of the series in equally strong fashion, abusing Mythic's lack of vision to claim a crucial central city. He then uses his superior economy to pick up the first giant of the game with forestry. Mythic responds with 2 giants of his own and techs into riding, eyeing his only way back into the game, taking the central city. Mythic's attack accelerates with roads, which brings his giant into the fray faster than Cookie can respond to. This allows him to secure the central city just 1 turn later. Despite staring down catapults coming from Cookie's side, Mythic's giant stands strong, and his attack continues. Mythic firmly pushes himself into the lead with a beautiful explorer from an isolated 5th city he captures in the west. This explorer meanders its way into Cookie's territory, eventually netting him the Eye of God monument, helping him continue to apply pressure with his giants in the center. Despite being pushed back by Cookie's catapults, Mythic finds another way through, sailing. His scouts begin to punish Cookie for not playing for the water, taking down one of the 2 catapults, locking down the center of the map. Unfortunately for Mythic, Cookie is inevitable. Well-laid plans come to fruition when Cookie drops 3 great markets, gliding past 40 stars per turn effortlessly. As if to defy his fate, Mythic makes one more Hail Mary play. He giant pushes a veteran swordsman, allowing it to slip past Cookie's defenses and slay the other catapult. Inexplicably, and in a winning position, Mythic resigns, giving us an exciting Game 3. In typical Vengear fashion, the final game between the 2 starts off slow. However, Mythic shows us the importance of timing, using the meeting stars from Cookie on turn 9 to afford riding and roads, allowing him to begin upgrading his cities beyond level 3. He secures an excellent border growth in his capital, and begins eyeing trade. This play pays off massively on the next turn, when Mythic drops the first 2 markets of the game. Although the markets aren't particularly tall, this is extremely fast for a tribe like Vengear. Cookie, fortunately, has a response. He actually obtains the first giant of the game, harnessing the power of mathematics. By turn 14, Mythic's market advantage starts to show, as he picks up mathematics himself, simultaneously growing his markets and alleviating the pressure on his capital with some well-placed catapults. Cookie, down 30 stars per turn, attempts a roads play in a desperate effort to catch up, bringing his catapult into the action. On the next turn, he amplifies his attack by using Eye of God for another giant. He's not quite out of it yet. Despite Cookie's attempts to catch up by getting trade himself, Mythic is not having any of it. His giants in the water steamroll through Cookie's weak shore defenses, using Cookie's attack on his capital against him and revealing it to be an overcommitment. Cookie, unable to defend his coastal cities with his misplaced catapults and unable to break through Mythic's deep catapult backline, resigns the game. Mythic is moving on to the finals. Our next match is the other semifinals between Reese Harms and Crocs to School. Due to technical difficulties, the tournament organizers awarded both players a win, meaning that their first and only true game will decide which one of them moves on to the finals. Crocs opens a fantastic early star ruin in this one and only game, allowing him to upgrade his capital quickly and go straight into riding. An aggressive start for Vengear. Crocs then lays a trap for Reese, preventing him from capturing the village by threatening a rider siege on the following turn. Reese, despite lacking vision, responds brilliantly by moving the warrior back. Despite his early commitment into riders, Crocs has not slowed his development. His investment into roads pays off massively when he gets the first giant of the game on turn 9, well ahead of his opponent. This is followed immediately by a second giant using his Park of Fortune monument. Trying to box Crocs into a corner, Reese makes a critical roads play to knock him off of an isolated village in the west corner. This play also gives him an avenue towards the coveted Grand Bazaar monument, which could get him back into this game. On its last move,
The explorer from this village brings home the final lighthouse for Reese, giving him Eye of God and allowing him to secure his first giant. To save his vulnerable West City, he then immediately gets a second giant, dropping 2 monuments. What a play. Crocs, knowing the long game is likely not in his favor, tries to push the game toward its conclusion with a cheeky catapult in the center. This catapult pays dividends for Crocs, who uses it to kill Reese's lone giant in the center and drive a dagger into the heart of Reese's position with his oncoming giant. Reese barely manages to escape his capital getting sniped with a beautiful juggernaut splash. When all hope seems lost in the center, Crocs is able to squeeze out another giant, giving his overloaded defense a chance to breathe. At the same time, the hammer comes down in the west, winning Crocs a critical high-level city and putting Reese firmly on the back foot. The game ends when Crocs wins control of the small lake between the 2 players, harnessing the power of his frail catapults to fight through Reese's rammers. This naval control gives him the attacking lanes he needed to push through Reese's defenses on the northwest side of the map, shattering Reese's defense and forcing him to resign. Crocs will advance to the finals, where he will face a determined Mythic. Our finals match is between Crocs to School and Mythic RNG. Despite both players meeting early and fighting for control over the center of the map, the position seems relatively even until Crocs makes a crucial blunder. He leaves open a siege on his capital that Mythic immediately capitalizes on, using the rider to bounce into a second city. Bailed out by the ruin gods, Crocs gets a clutch population ruin that allows him to save his capital with a giant push. However, the stars he spends saving his capital come back to bite him, as he cannot stop Mythic from sieging yet another of his cities. The game ends with Mythic's riders storming over the center of the map, cutting off Croc's control in that area with another unbreakable siege. With his back up against a wall, tragedy strikes early for Crocs in Game 2 when his warrior runs into Mythic's starting swordsman. Is this the end of his tournament run? Fortunately for him, he is able to continue expanding normally. Both players develop their positions in typical Vengiar fashion, but Crocs wows us by getting his first market down on turn 10. Mythic, never too far behind, is quick to respond with markets of his own. Like Hoodrick, he constructs tall sawmill markets that stretch to the sky, asserting economic dominance as he shoots over 40 stars per turn. Mythic once again shows us the power of the giant push, using it in tandem with a beautiful bridge to take out Croc's menacing catapult, alleviating pressure on his central city and setting up for an attack that promises to roll through Croc's defense. On the same turn, he also steals a village out from under Croc's nose. Mythic, looking to capitalize on his lead, sends his giant into Croc's coastal city. How will Crocs defend this? With a magic trick, of course, Crocs elegantly places his Grand Bazaar and a litany of ports to secure an important Houdini, pushing back Mythic's attack on the water and flipping the game on its head. Despite Croc's efforts, however, Mythic is truly inevitable. His economic advantage allows him to go into both bombers and knights, and it is the latter that finally breaks through. A second bridge allows his knight to breach Croc's weakened defenses, chaining through a low HP giant and into the squishy line of catapults behind it. This is accompanied by an amphibious assault into Croc's coastal city, this time much more assured. In the face of this magnificent chain, Crocs can do nothing except resign. Well played to both players, and congrats to Mythic RNG, who is your Vengiar representative. Thrust from the clutches of darkness, we then found ourselves basking in the tranquility of the isolationist tribe that is IMO. They begin with philosophy and a mindbender, perfectly matching their temperament and giving them unparalleled flexibility. Up first is the semifinal match between YADAKK and Willabomb. The first game sees an early rider rush from Willabomb fail to break through YADAKK's catapult-based defense. A tactical border growth from YADAKK closes off his capital from direct attack, while his initial giant prevents Willbomb's riders from securing the capital snipe. Despite his strong defense, however, YADAKK loses elsewhere on the map. Willbomb's rider road strategy helps him to keep YADAKK stuck on 4 cities, and in the end, Willabomb uses Smithery combined with the markets he got to afford his win condition of choice, the bomber. The second game between the two features the same aggressive strategy from Willabomb, who uses an early explorer meeting his opponent to go straight into riding. This aggressive tactic pays off, as he secures a crucial village between himself and Mayak while also threatening Mayak's second city with a brilliant Mindbender play. Despite this pressure, Mayak is able to hold on with a rider of his own, at least for a few turns. However, the pressure mounts, and on turn 9, Willabomb finally puts the pieces together to land a beautiful capital snipe, sealing the game and advancing him to the finals, where he will play the winner of Yeti Peaks and Ducks. The next semifinal match is between Yeti Peaks and Ducks. Game 1 between these two titans begins relatively uneventfully. Yeti, not wanting to prolong a game where he has out-expanded his opponent, knocks Ducks off of a crucial city on the 8th turn using roads. He then further extends his lead 2 turns later by snatching the Eye of God monument, using it to secure a fantastic border growth that will give him much-needed naval access. While Ducks manages to play for the remaining unclaimed villages on the map, Yeti's economic advantage with trade stacks up, allowing him to shove multiple giants into the water and win naval control quickly. He then ends the game in just a couple turns, denying Ducks any Mindbender conversion shenanigans. This second game features an exciting same-side battle, where both players go into forestry early. However, whilst Yeti plays for the water, Ducks assembles a sneaky attack towards his capital. His riders strike true on turn 7, landing a well-executed capital snipe that secures him the second game. With the series on the line, Ducks steps up early, avoiding a potentially catastrophic Mindbender conversion by taking an Explorer. He then manages to secure a kill on Yeti's Mindbender, at the cost of expanding towards his remaining unclaimed villages. While Yeti loses this important unit, he continues to apply pressure, achieving a great road setup with the help of his Star Ruin. With Ducks playing from behind on cities and eco, it was only a matter of time before Yeti's hammer came down. Finishing off the series in style, Yeti elegantly maneuvers his riders to land an unbreakable siege. He meets Willabomb in the finals. With one more set standing between these two players in qualification, who will be crowned IMO champion? Let's find out. Willabomb starts off game 1 strong, securing an important Mindbender conversion that wins him a ruin. The ruin in question gives stars that he wisely uses to get his first giant of the game, helping him snowball quickly. While Yeti tries his best to keep pace by going into Smithery, Willabomb's economic advantage is staggering, and his subsequent roads play simultaneously brings 2 giants into the fight and forces Yeti to resign. Game 2 looks like another early Willabomb win, with archers enabling a devastating veteran warrior siege, while simultaneously ripping apart Yeti's defense. However, Yeti manages to hang on, slowly making his way towards the east side of the map. Being the first one there gives him a city advantage and the lead. After some skirmishing around the front lines, the game comes down to a crucial night Willabomb trains in the back, desperate to find a way through. Despite the chain he manages to pick up on the following turn, it is not enough, and Willabomb, realizing he has no way forward, resigns. With everything on the line, neither player is willing to take a risk. In fact, we see an almost perfect mirror in the opening, with nearly symmetrical starting upgrades and explorers. However, the similarities stop there. While Willabomb opts to go into riding, a classic approach in this matchup, Yeti jumps into the water instead. Willabomb's decision looks like it is paid off when he steals a fantastic central city from Yeti, but Yeti responds immediately. A lone scout and a duet of warriors push back and reclaim the city, allowing him to stabilize the center. Demoralized, Willabomb is unable to stop Yeti's incoming attack on the north side of the map, which secures him the city advantage. Despite the Mindbender conversion that follows, Willabomb recognizes the writing on the wall and resigns. Yeti is your IMO champion. From there, we ventured into the lands of the burb-riding Katsali. Beginning with strategy and a timid defender, Katsali is known for its defensive bastions matched with sneaky aggression in the form of cloaks. Game 1 starts off asymmetrically, with Gabanos using a lighthouse opening to play into hunting early. Despite being down a full city in the early game, Gabanos' subsequent play into archery is a masterclass in how to apply pressure before your opponent can set up. Viking responds quickly, however. His early Star Ruin facilitates a quick giant in his capital with forestry, allowing him to also get a wall in his second city to lock it down. Cabanos, realizing the win is getting further and further out of reach, goes for the kill and trains a cloak in his capital. Viking's tidy response in the next couple of turns shuts down those hopes, with his catapults locking Cabanos out of the game. Realizing there is no hope of breaking through, Cabanos resigns. Cabanos, back against the wall, starts off the second game strong. He gets the first giant of the game on turn 7 using mathematics, immediately applying pressure to Viking's nearby city. Meanwhile, Viking gambles it all on 2 ruins, one of which requires him to buy climbing. This gamble pays off as he nets archery and stars, allowing him to go into mathematics and set up his defense. Unfortunately, it is not enough to hold off Cabanos' early giant, which secures the siege and pushes him into the lead. He then gets trades soon after and drops an imposing market. Viking is not far behind, however, and gets trade himself just a few turns later. With his attack mounting to reclaim the city he lost, Viking seems poised to make a comeback. Cabanos quickly nullifies this threat, however, with a beautiful bomber splash. After an intense back and forth on both the water and the land, Viking finally finds a way through, shredding Cabanos' catapult defense and finally dislodging the giants protecting the contested city. Aquatism to protect his growing navy is the cherry on top, and in the face of an overwhelming economic disadvantage, Cabanos resigns. Viking moves on to the finals. The next semifinal match is between Giustini Linguini, who some of you may recognize, and LLUXIDOor, who was the previous World Championships Chinchi representative. The first game between the two is a relatively quick one. While LLUXIDOor manages to pick up the contested 4th city and apply pressure with a well-timed diplomacy ruin, Giustini prevents the cloak from landing and amplifies his economic lead by getting early giants. He then finds and kills the cloak just 1 turn later, and powers his way through the walled city by bringing in a second giant. LLUXIDOor, unable to stop the wave of giants and catapults in tow, resigns the game. Giustini shows us why he's more than just a Polytopia YouTuber in the second game. Only 6 turns in, we see him win the race to the western side of the map, using a tactical rider bounce to secure even more space. Despite this imposing expansion disadvantage, LLUXIDOor plays for his outs, getting a fast giant and setting up to do to Giustini what was done to him in Game 1. While LLUXIDOor's giant ominously marches forward, Giustini bides his time, connecting cities together with roads and training some defensive riders. Just when it seems like he plans to give up the city, we witness greatness. An incredible Houdini from the man himself crushes LLUXIDOor's hopes and sends Giustini to the finals, where he will face Viking. Game 1 between these two masters is a perfect example of playing with what you're given. Giustini, not seeing the potential for mathematics, jumps into the water early, looking to punish Viking's greedy market rush by setting up unbreakable naval control. This gambit pays off for Giustini, who is able to push Viking back into his borders as we reach the middle game. Viking, however, saw this coming, and was simply biding his time for when he could complete his market setup. Giustini, realizing he is down a lot of economy, makes a last-ditch effort to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. He trains a few cloaks to attack Viking's exposed capital, sends in the bombers, and advances his giant line. Viking, however, finds the only move in the position. A port and a fantastic Juggernaut splash devastates Giustini's exposed bombers and kills an invisible cloak, ripping apart Giustini's delicate offense and forcing him to resign. Giustini finds himself on the ropes again in Game 2. Down a city, in the neutral game, he calculates a brilliant line to take control. 2 catapults trained in his frontier cities lock down Viking's position and allow Giustini's attack to get off to a roaring start. This pays off when Giustini secures Viking's west city just a few turns later, and his east city shortly after that. Victory, however, will not come easily for Giustini. Viking, fully prepared to lose those cities, jumps into the water and launches a threatening assault on the center lake with several bombers. After a tenuous back and forth in the middle lake, Giustini finally breaks through by overloading the capacity for Viking's bombers to defend, simultaneously creating problems in the lake while also threatening Viking's northwest city on land. Viking, unable to hold everything, resigns the game. With this series on the line, the players find themselves in another asymmetrical position. This time, it is Viking on the water, while Giustini plays for control of the land with riders. Viking's play into the water propels him into a strong position in the middle game, securing him the city advantage and commanding control over the center lake. While Giustini tries to defend with archers in the north, Viking's sneaky bomber shreds the squishy backline and allows him to make progress on land. Giustini's border growth to gain naval access comes too late, and his desperate attempt to get into the water is swiftly repelled by Viking's overwhelming naval advantage. Having exhausted his winning options and found nothing, Giustini resigns. Congratulations to Viking, who is your Katsali representative, and well played to all the players involved. We then traded the jungles of the Katsali for the wealth of farms that populate Zaboya, the homeland of the Zebasi tribe. Starting with farming and a warrior, this tribe is known for its wealth of giants and tall windmills. Up first is the semifinal match between Giustini Linguini and LLUXIDOor. With both players having made it this far before, the stakes are higher than ever to perform. While LLUXIDOor starts off strong with an early construction giant, Giustini manages to match that by barely snagging the Eye of God monument, keeping him in the game. His play into hunting looks stellar when he opens an archery ruin on the same turn, giving him nice counterplay to LLUXIDOor's surefire giant spam. LLUXIDOor decides to make the first real move of the game and expand aggressively with roads into the north. However, Giustini prepared for this, getting roads himself on the previous turn and setting up to make a decisive play. He sieges LLUXIDOor's south city and kicks him off the village in the north at the same time. With a decisive city advantage, Giustini simply needs to hang on to his lead. After some unsuccessful siege attempts, LLUXIDOor realizes the game is lost and resigns. Game 2 is equally asymmetrical, with Giustini opening riding instead of the classic construction opener we see from LLUXIDOor. This does not pan out for Giustini, whose Central Explorer reveals that he is separated from his opponent by a massive lake. Meanwhile, LLUXIDOor again quickly achieves his first giant, this time opting to play for the water early to improve his expansion pace. From there, his advantage becomes evident. His giant races on the water towards Giustini's exposed city, setting up a siege while LLUXIDOor sizes up the potential for Giustini to pull off a Houdini. On the next turn, the bluff is called. LLUXIDOor's Juggernaut comes crashing onto land at the same time as he denies Giustini key villages in the east and west corners. Giustini, hopelessly outmatched in expansion, resigns. In the final game, it seems like Giustini is fated to finally open with construction, but he once again proves his versatility by leading with organization instead. While he shifts into construction afterwards, he cannot match LLUXIDOor's early giant and begins falling behind. However, Giustini's position is not all bad. With 5 easily accessible villages and a wealth of farms, he begins to claw back the advantage by setting up several overlapping windmills. Despite avoiding construction initially and LLUXIDOor's early star ruin, Giustini is still the first to trade, dropping his first market on turn 11. By turn 12, he is up 15 stars per turn. Despite this lead, LLUXIDOor fights back on the water, launching an all-out assault with his many juggernauts, defenders in tow. By turn 16, this attack has transitioned to land, and it looks like Giustini's east city is going to fall. Between a rock and a hard place, Giustini must navigate an incoming cloak alongside the 2 giants staring him down. With a clutch giant pop and a marvelous series of bounces to uncover and kill the cloak, Giustini thwarts LLUXIDOor's attack and his hopes of advancing past the semifinals. Next up is the semifinal match between Polycrystal, otherwise known as Polynomial, and Willabon, who is once again eyeing first place. Polycrystal starts off the first game on the right foot, getting a majestic turn 5 giant to make up for his slow expansion. Willabon, already under pressure, ekes out his own giant 2 turns later, helping to stabilize the position. With the giants advancing, the players immediately opt for 2 different approaches to support their growing attacks. Polycrystal goes for riding, while Willabon plays for archery. Willabom's careful siege forces out an expensive unsiege with roads from Polycrystal, who makes progress elsewhere when his giant sieges Willabom's level 1 city. As Willabom's second giant arrives to once again siege Polycrystal's west city, it seems as though this is the final nail in the coffin. However, Polycrystal adeptly plays for his Gate of Power monument, squeezing out another giant from the city and holding everything together. However, Willabon prepared adequately and immediately sieges the city again, taking it and putting himself firmly in the lead. After some skirmishing around Polycrystal's capital, Willabom's attack breaks through, forcing Polycrystal to resign. Game 2 is a really quick one. As both players expand towards the center, Willabon is cut off from expansion completely by Polycrystal, who has the unit advantage in the center of the map. Willabon, demoralized and not wanting to prolong the inevitable, resigns. The early giant is Polycrystals once again in the final game, as he achieves it on turn 6. However, Willabomb manages to cut him off from the center of the map, securing a city advantage and strong water control in the process. Despite this, Polycrystal plays on, achieving trade at a ludicrous pace and dropping his first market on turn 8. Willabomb, behind on development, is forced to wait another 3 turns to match. The two then dance around each other in the water, trading Juggernaut splashes and looking for openings. Willabomb, first to the water, is also first to bombers, which prove to be the opening he needs. 2 magnificent bomber splashes rip apart Polycrystal's defense and allow Willabomb to progress his attack onto land. After an intense back and forth, it seems like Polycrystal is actually stabilized and the game is going to stalemate. However, both players are dead set on winning, and both try one last idea: Knights. In the end, Willobomb's Knight is the one that strikes true, landing a game-ending chain.
He's teasing us. He's doing everything.
He's doing it slowly. No, no!
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 Oh, God!
And sending him to the finals, where he will face Justini. Both of these players have been here before, but only one can break the finals curse. Who will it be? Let's find out. Justini is forced into fishing in Game 1, but very quickly transforms this into a key strength as the map is revealed. His early explorers give him a surprisingly quick turn 6 giant with Eye of God, and he is poised to expand towards the villages on the other side of the lake, leaving Willabomb in the dust. Willabomb, however, has faced these kinds of positions before, and unveils his plan: markets. His first comes down on turn 10, and he quickly scales it from there. Despite Wilbomb's economic powerhouse, Justini pushes forward, using his abundant water access to quickly stifle Wilbomb's attempt to contest the lake. His bombers also help him attack Wilbomb's exposed capital, which he must defend with several giants. Just when it seems like Willabomb can put together a tidy defense with knights, Justini lands a critical Juggernaut siege. Willabomb, just shy of having enough units to unsiege, resigns the game. The second game between the two is the longest we've seen, so strap in. The fireworks don't truly start until the 12th turn, where we see Justini's investment into sailing pay off. He snipes Willobomb's exposed warrior sitting on a crucial central village, preventing it from capturing and giving himself a huge tempo advantage. He keeps the momentum going on the next turn, landing a thunderous Juggernaut siege on the center of Willobomb's position. Willabomb, who invested in riders, lacks the techs or the population to unsiege, giving Justini a crucial city snipe. Despite this edge, Justini is forced onto the back foot by Willobomb's rammers. Willabomb quickly transitions this attack amphibiously, sieging Justini with a 30 HP giant and threatening to drive a dagger into the heart of his position. Justini, however, never one to give up the advantage so easily, unsieges with a well-timed giant pop. He then lands his Juggernaut on the other side of the lake, making a play for the final unclaimed village. Willabomb cannot respond to this play, instead opting to go into trade. After a few turns of jockeying for position, Willabomb sets up an attack to reclaim the city he lost 6 turns ago, landing a full HP giant siege on the city. Justini is forced to give up the city, leveling the naval playing field and giving Willabomb some much-needed breathing room. Justini responds by getting 2 bombers and threatening to lock down control of the water. Willabomb then responds back with sailing to snipe a bomber, but Justini is already making up lost ground in the economic department with markets of his own. Willabomb, realizing he's losing in this endgame, commits to a massive assault. His giants on land attempt to steal a city, while his juggernauts vie for control of the lake. Despite Justini's naval presence, he is unable to defend the city and cedes it to Willabomb, bringing the city count even after 24 turns of back and forth. After cheeky capital sieges, attempted cloak chains, and a 30-turn slugfest, the game is decided via panel.
The judge's decision is, due to more future giants and slightly better water access, long-term eco and knight's cloaks eventually will equal out. But Willabomb does take the victory. It is 1-2-1. We're going to game 3, ladies and gentlemen.
Game 3 starts off dicey for Justini, who fails to find early villages and must play into riding instead. A clutch population ruin keeps him in the game economically, but Willobomb's 4-farm second city prevents a nigh insurmountable barrier to victory. Justini, however, pulls off a miraculous Rhodes play to steal Willibom's third city, setting him up to attack faster than Willibom can amass a suitable defense. Willibom, back against the wall, makes 2 giants and ominously marches them forward. The first arrives on turn 10, sealing the fate of the city Justini stole all those turns ago. The second marches towards Justini's exposed city on the lake, preparing to thrust Willibom into the lead and seal the series. In the biggest moment of the series so far, Justini delivers. A beautiful Houdini using Eye of God banishes Willibom's giant and shuts down his attack on Justini's otherwise fragile position. With the series on the line, Willibom plays calmly, amplifying his markets and setting up to defend. However, Justini's critical series of giant moves prevents Willibom's giant from reaching the city in time. As his giant walks into Willibom's city, the crown descends upon Justini's head. Give it up for your Zebasi champion. The final qualifier featured the snobbiest tribe of all, Luxidoor. Their immense wealth manifests in the form of an upgraded capital and a warrior, though in their hubris they have forgotten to invest in technology. With a fast giant and even faster expansion, Luxidoor is a force that threatens to roll over unsuspecting opponents before they even get a chance to react.
Up first is the semifinal match between Meisterlamp and Cabanos. Game 1 ends almost as quickly as it started. Meister swiftly claims an important city between himself and Cabanos, then holds it with a critical rider play. Cabanos, outexpanded and under pressure, decides to resign. Meister once again opts for riding in Game 2, securing a powerful central city and denying Cabanos' exploring warrior value. Cabanos responds by quickly getting a giant in the position. This, combined with his calculated cloak rush, threatens to destabilize Meister's position. Responding immediately, Meister lands a siege through Cabanos' defender with Rhodes, stealing a critical city. After some excellent maneuvering to maintain control of the position, Cabanos realizes there is no hope of a comeback and resigns. Meister paves his way to the finals. Our next semifinal match is between 2 seasoned pros, Arthur, the reigning world champion, and Bossman. The first game between the two features a passive expansion suite from both players, who quickly claim the villages on their respective sides of the middle lake. However, not everything about the position is equal. Arthur's early meditation rune allows him to go straight into philosophy on turn 9. From there, he goes into mathematics, and uses his altarpiece monument to score a beautiful central giant. Bossman, not to be outdone, responds with mathematics himself, using a tactical border growth to shut off Arthur's port connections. After an intense back and forth around the final unclaimed village, Arthur decisively strikes with his scouts, hitting a catapult and bringing a juggernaut closer into range to secure the village. Bossman, realizing his window of victory is closing, lands a devastating double siege on Arthur's position, forcing him to use most of his stars to defend. With the game on the line, Bossman makes one last play for the win, throwing a full HP juggernaut into Arthur's lightly defended middle city. Arthur demonstrates his prowess with a clutch explorer, using Eye of God and Grand Bazaar monuments in tandem to Houdini the Giant and take home the win. Game 2 is decided over water, and it is Bossman who plays for that advantage. Starting off with fishing, Bossman quickly claims a bountiful village in the center of the lake. From there, his early rammers and scouts steal an isolated city, whilst his giant manages to do the same on the other side of the map. Out of options and caught between a rock and a hard place, Arthur resigns. Arthur makes the most of his city disadvantage in Game 3, using a brilliant catapult push and a cheeky rider siege to gain tempo on his attack. Bossman threatens to break apart his defense with Rhodes, but it stands tall as Bossman's only giant falls. Arthur, still not out of the woods yet, finds an opening on the other side of the map. His juggernaut and rammers combine to help him steal a critical city from Bossman, opening the door for naval dominance. In the end, a well-timed night chain and a threatening siege blows the position wide open, leaving Bossman too far behind to make a comeback. Arthur will face Meister in the finals. It all comes down to this: 2 of the best live game players facing off to see who will represent Luxidoor on the world stage. Game 1 showcases 2 entirely different playstyles for this versatile tribe. Whilst Meister plays for the early giant, Arthur opts for an aggressive, early game strategy by getting riding and Rhodes. Unfortunately, his lack of vision on Meister's position is his downfall, and he fails to secure a 4th city, ultimately losing it to Meister's giant. Out of options and far away from a giant of his own, Arthur resigned. Game 2 shows us how to fight a naval battle from the land. Both players harness the power of capital water access, quickly setting up their port connections and getting on the water. Meister's cheeky raft play opens up the game, giving him the advantage as the first set of juggernauts square off. Arthur responds with a wave of giants, but it is Meister who finds the critical answer, archery. Just as Arthur's attack seems like it will pierce the heart of Meister's position, the archers come to the rescue, stopping the giant from taking the city and allowing him to force Arthur's battle lines back with a devastating juggernaut splash. Arthur, back up against the wall, rips an incredible navigation ruin, allowing him to make a well-placed bomber and chip away at Meister's pesky archers. After both players sacrifice hordes of units into the center, the position transforms. Meister's advantage snowballs in the north, allowing him to rip apart Arthur's warrior-based defense with ease and threaten the isolated city. On the other side, Arthur's bomber and juggernaut pair up to equalize. However, he is not able to stop Meister from making a nasty bomber right in his face, tearing apart his defenses and single-handedly winning naval control. Meister is your Luxidoor tribe champion.
And that's a wrap. All 7 tribes are covered, and you're now fully caught up on everything that happened in round 1. We hope you enjoyed reliving the highlights with us, and don't forget to tune in for the Chinchi qualifier on August 9th. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss the action when it begins. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in Stockholm.